So today we got my old man's Husqvarna 455 Rancher. I go grab it from him every couple years, give it a good solid once over, go through, clean everything, check everything out, get it retuned if it needs it. It's been a good saw. I can't remember what year they started making these, I don't know, but he's had this for probably at least 20 years now. So never failed, it's been a good saw. We're gonna give it a run today and get it tuned in and then go do a little muffler mod on it. Let it breathe a little better. So yeah, that's what we're up to. Nothing crazy. We've already trimmed the limiters on this carb years ago, kind of get it tuned a little better, but judging by the screen and the exhaust deflector here, it's been running fairly rich. So we'll try and get it tuned in a little better maybe. Get a couple accurate cuts with the proper tune, and then we'll open up the muffler and see how it does after that. This thing hasn't ran in I don't know how long. It doesn't see a lot of use anymore. Ha! 3 pulls. I mean, I don't know. This thing probably hasn't ran in a year. Gotta love a primer bulb. Okay, so I just made one cut here, get it warmed up, kind of feel it out. This thing is not tuned for peak performance, but it's close. Touch on the safe side versus right on the ragged edge, but it's not an overly rich state by any means. So we're gonna make a few cuts like this just to see what it is, have a relative time to go by, and then we'll modify the muffler and come back out, make a few cuts, see how it goes. Might I add, this, I don't know about newer ones. I don't know if they've changed any, if they're exactly the same. I haven't got into any of the brand new X-Torque stuff in this range of saw. But this thing is just a good runner. It has been from day one. We trimmed the limiter tabs, got it tuned just a touch richer, and I mean, it's flawless. You saw earlier, the thing hasn't ran in a year probably, and it started with 3 pulls. I mean, it's just a good runner. Great firewood saw. Heavy for its size, I think, but great firewood saw. inside and open that muffler up and come back out and see what happens. I might have to save the backside of this log. It's not completely sound, but I bet it's beautiful. We'll have to do a, I'll do a little video on test wood. But sure is pretty. Old hunk of birch. Alrighty, so we'll get this pulled off of there. I was mentioning earlier, this saw has been a great saw, and I was saying it doesn't see much use. Well, it doesn't see much use now. It saw a lot in its younger years. He just was always very meticulous about his stuff, did a good job. You know, almost always blows it off after every use, and so the right size here. Anyways, it's been a good saw. It's as clean as it is because he's a meticulous guy, and like I said, every time he gets done using it, you know, it's stored properly, blown out, air filter blown out. You know, it didn't just bounce around in the back of the truck for a month. You always had a special spot on the shelf for it, and anyways, takes care of his stuff. So that is not cold. That is an ear. Ay caramba. It's spotless in there. I mean, it's clean. A little bit of carbon in the port. We're going to solve that by getting this dang muffler opened up here. And I didn't get on camera earlier because I'm a bonehead. But this was, I cleaned the screen out. It was pretty carboned up. So, I did that earlier and I forgot to show you. There's a big baffle plate in the center of this. The only way the exhaust gets through is around those supports. There's an air gap there and an air gap there, that and one down there, and that's it. That's how all of the exhaust has to get through to the front side of that plate, and then it comes up and out, and it comes out a little tiny tube. All right, so I've shown this before, but I just take my screwdriver, get it down in between that pinch weld, and start prying. Most of these are usually pretty soft, so just work your way around, go all the way around the muffler. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so lighting sucks, but you get the idea. That's what's inside of there. My only hope is that this baffle plate is a separate piece. We'll find out. Okay, so got the back half and the front half. And it's looking like I got lucky and this isn't soldered in. It looks like it's going to come off of there. I think. I hope. The only kicker... yeah, I don't know. Should come off of there. Hopefully that makes sense, but I'm thinking once we pry this, it should just come right off of there. Sometimes you just got to make stuff happen. Okay, so it looks as though, I'll show you when I get this ripped off of here, but it does have a tiny little braze or weld on like one part of the tube where it goes into the top. So it's going to tear a little bit of the material, but I mean, honestly, we're already tearing. So there you go. You can see what I was talking about. This is the first time I've been into one of these. Talk about a freaking choked up mess. So now, in theory, once that piece is broken, boom, inner baffle gone, and that's what's left inside. And I don't know if all of these are like this. Maybe this is a later model and the early models didn't, or vice versa. I don't know, but it'd sure be nice if, when it was together like that, if there was no baffle plate in there, you could just reach through there with a Dremel, open up that hole, and you'd be good. Or put another port right here, and you'd have a straight shot through. But the way this one sits, with that baffle plate in the middle, there's no way around it, and there's no good spot to put a baffle clear back here that would be behind that plate. Or not a baffle, but a deflector. You know, there's no good way to come off of it behind that baffle plate. So the way I see it with this muffler, that's the only option to get it opened up. Maybe somebody knows better and you can tell me differently. Maybe there's a muffler you can just buy and swap on that doesn't have that plate in it. I don't know. But for the, honestly, probably maximum of about 8-10 minutes involved to get it to this point, if that, I'd say it's worth it. I usually just take my flathead screwdriver, give it a little bit of a pry up. Okay, kind of opens that opening up a little bit. It's not pointed up high enough to where it's going to make a difference and melt the plastic or anything like that. But the way I see it in my head, I don't care how big the opening is underneath that deflector. It's ultimately, this is the end opening. You know, like, sure, some squirts out a little maybe somewhere, but ultimately that's your end opening. So you're only going to flow as much as this is going to let out, regardless of how big this port is inside. Could be completely screwed up in my thinking, but that's the way I see it anyways. Most of the exhaust gases, mind you, are coming up, hitting the deflector, and then going forward. So this little bit here, inside this hole, that's making it straight up past the deflector, isn't much. It's still getting directed this way by the majority of the exhaust gases. However, if you open this hole and you open it way up out here, now you're starting to get not the same direction. You're getting more that's coming up instead of such a directed blast going forward. So when I'm going to open this up, I'm going to try and stick to that front of that existing factory hole and maybe even a little behind, and then open up all back in here so it still hits the deflector and exits the front instead of going up and melting the plastic. Okay, I'll see if I can show you here. Now we got that nice large opening. Like I said, I opened up everything behind this forwardmost point where the tube was before, so that the majority of the exhaust gases are still coming up, hitting this, and then directed forward. I know I keep stressing that, but you'll melt your top cover in short order if you don't. Anyways, that should be more than enough to help this thing breathe a lot better. Not to mention it's going to have some back pressure because that hole isn't that big, especially once you put the screen back in. But now it's not fighting to get past that plate before it exits. So although the exhaust port isn't huge at this point, it'll be a much better flowing muffler. Hopefully get rid of all this carbon that's built up. What's that? The oven's preheated? Okay, I'll be in just a second. So all there is now to do is put it back together. And fit back together without the plate. Pretty straightforward, I think. Should be. Make sure it lines up. And I think I maybe bent it a little bit anyways when I was pulling that plate out. So we'll bend it down. See what we can get going on here. Oh yeah. Alright, we're styling now. Boom. Everything's lined up just how it needs to be. Perfect. So we'll grab a pair of pliers, get this pinch weld pinched all the way back down around, and we should be done. So I like this style of plier for getting all crimped back together. I usually start somewhere in the middle. Give her a smush. When you pinch, you just kind of roll it back in as you go. And work your way around. It's pretty self-explanatory or straightforward, or I don't know what the proper terminology would be, but get to the corner, just take small bites. You just kind of pinch it and roll it forward at the same time. Usually do one side, then the other. There's a lot of different style mufflers this will apply to. If you get one like this where you bent it out too far, just get yourself a hammer, give a little taparoo, get her bent back into shape, then you'll be able to crimp it down just like the rest of them. So then when I get to the corners, I just take small bites, same thing, push in when you do it, and get a bite like this, and then roll it up. Roll your hand, your pliers, your whatever, roll the edge up as you're crimping it. And it'll just push right into place. I won't say you'd never know, but for all intents and purposes, when it's on the saw, no one's ever going to see that. Not that you care about people seeing it, but it don't make any difference. And hit it with a fresh hit it with a fresh coat of silver paint or black paint, whatever you want, and you'd never even know it was a part. So now we got a nice straight shot. No baffle in there. By the way, that's not metal. Those are just scratches. No baffle in there, and right out the top right there. So that's that, and we'll get her back on and go give it a run. I did reinstall the screen. It's because that's me. And honestly, I'm not that concerned fire-wise where we're at. But more than anything, it keeps the critters out. You know, this thing sits on a shelf for a lot of its life. It's not just out cutting wood every single day like it used to be. And you'd be surprised what will get in there on a big open exhaust port and build nests. Mind you, probably spiders would burn up just fine and come and not cause any damage, but you get something that hauls mud in there and packs it or whatever. Anyways, so I run screens for that as much as. All right, so here we are on another rainy Western Washington day. There's Daphne waiting for the toy. Yeah, I know. It is a wet mess out here today, but we got a saw to run, so we're gonna run it. Well, we got Dad's 455 Rancher here today. We did the muffler mod on it. He said he doesn't use the decomp valve at all, so we put a plug in that. Just went through, did some maintenance stuff on it, and I don't have the same log as I did the other day. It's been a couple weeks, but it is what it is. That's the reality of it. I cut it up doing other stuff, so got a fur log here today. We're going to test this thing out after the muffler mod. It's already been tuned in. I'll get to a tuning video. I got people asking all the time on a more in-depth tuning video, so I'll get into that. I know I've said it before, but I'll make a point of getting into it. But anyways, today we're going to run this thing. Let's see how it does. It's already warmed up. Well, I know it's not the same as before. It's hard to tell when you're not here in person, I get it, but it was a worthwhile improvement. More than anything, the throttle response is way better. That's the only thing done to this saw. It still has the spark screen in it. Just muffler mod only. That's the only thing. Didn't touch the ignition timing or anything like that. So I feel like it's a stronger saw. I don't know if it'll come out in the video or not. Of course, like I said, we got different wood, but for being buried with a 20-inch bar, this chain's filed fairly aggressively, normally on a different saw. Not making excuses or anything, just a fact. But anyways, I feel like it pulls itself down through here just fine, buried 20 inches. So there you have it. If you want to do it, and do it, and if you don't, that's fine too. Have a good day.